Some more Seahawks now as we bring in Hawkblogger Brian Nemhauser. Brian, welcome to the show, my man.
How you guys doing, fellas? It's good to be here.
Doing good, man. Saw you at practice yesterday. It seems like head coach Mike McDonald and the team are being real careful when it comes to their title of Super Bowl champions, and I'm sure you got that impression as well.
Yeah, it feels like the whole world just came across this running it forward phrase yesterday, but it's something that Mike McDonald's been talking about since the combine, since the league meetings in March. And I think it's just a real testament to the fact that he's really grown from the coach he was just 2 years ago, had never been a coach in the head coach in the NFL, to now he's putting a lot of thought into how he's going to frame this, what the messaging has to be. And that's a little edge. You know, he talks about chasing edges. He doesn't want this team getting complacent, feeling like they've already arrived, like they're already champs. They have to prove it again. They have to start again. They have to reach their standard again. And that's when he's talking about, you know, running it forward, moving, taking their philosophies, their way of life, as he says, and continuing to prove that that is a championship level process. And, you know, it's hard to argue with his results after just 2 years being a Super Bowl champ.
Yeah, Brian, they've been pretty phenomenal looking at his record in Seattle. When you look back, we can't make a whole lot of yesterday's OTA, but take me back to rookie camp, to yesterday, kind of what has stood out so far for you at the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to compare this rookie mini camp and this rookie class to last year. It's almost unfair to do that when you had, you know, 4 draft picks going into this year. They were all the very last pick of the first 3 rounds, compared to the, you know, last year when you're picking middle of the first round, and then you had multiple second-round picks, and so it's a little bit different. But you've got Jadarian Price with a great opportunity. He was splitting reps with George Halani yesterday. He'll get plenty of opportunities. You've got Bud Clark, who's going to have opportunities at safety. And to see those guys all out there on the field with some of the free agent additions, Rodney Thomas at safety, you know, some of the other guys that they've, you know, Dante Fowler's not there yesterday, but has been participating in some of the phase 2 stuff that they were doing. You know, it's a big step forward for the coaching staff, for the players to all get to finally yesterday face off offense versus defense. And I'll tell you one guy for me that I think everyone should be really excited about is Riley Mills. Seeing him out there, big number 98, right next to Byron Murphy, right next to Jaron Reed. This is just a guy that really showed up in the Super Bowl. And for this season, gets a full off season to prepare to participate in every practice, where last year he, as a rookie, was dealing with a knee injury. So I think that's a really exciting addition to what's already maybe the best defensive tackle rotation in the NFL.
Yeah, man. He had one of the highlights of that Super Bowl for sure when he took 2 of those guys down in the backfield, and that was the pictures, just the still pics of him wrapping his arms around 2 guys was awesome. But you know, like you mentioned, he came in, he fell in the draft out of Notre Dame because of the injury, and the Seahawks took a flyer on him. And boy, if he can stay healthy, bright future for him as well. And what a pickup for the Seahawks, and a smart move by John Schneider and his gang. When you look at Mike McDonald, Brian, you know, we sit there and we try to pry into this guy a little bit and make him smile. And I know, listening to your questions to him in particular, you always try to grab a little personality from him. How difficult is it to get him to just loosen up and share a little bit outside of just football talk?
Paul, I mean, you could talk to the guy every week. You know, I'll say this. It is a lot easier to get that from him now than it was his first year. And he's talked about the fact that his first season, he was swimming. He was, you know, overwhelmed, you know, getting used to the duties of a head coach, which are really different than the duties of a defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator. You're kind of the CEO of the team at that point. And I think he's a guy that everybody can tell. He doesn't want to just do things well. He wants to do them right. He wants to be the best at what he's doing. And so very analytical, you know, second guessing at times, but now in his 3rd season, he knows doesn't have a reason to doubt whether or not he is capable of leading a team to a Super Bowl. So now it's about refining, finding the next edge, finding the next detail, pushing his coaching staff, pushing his players to their next great step in their development. And I think he was pretty lighthearted yesterday. And I think part of it's like what you guys shared earlier. He's just happy to be back out, playing football, participating in football, doing football, as he said in the clip, with his guys. And it shows. It shows. And it's nice to see that evolution for him.
All right. You mentioned 4 words there, finding the next edge. Nick Eamon-Warry, trying to get more creative with him. What do you do here with this? I mean, off of last season, how do you get more creative with Nick?
Well, Chris, it's a great question, because I think you can kind of broaden that to, there's a lot of folks that are like, oh man, the Seahawks lost a lot of players last year. They're in free agency and they're not as good. I think people forget how big of a jump you get from year 1 to year 2, not only for rookies like Nick Eamon-Warry or Gray Zabel for that matter, who were both massively impactful starters for this team last year, but you also have players that will be in year 2 with their teammates. Sam Darnold, how many times has he been a back-to-back starter in the same system with the same receivers, essentially the same line? Like, it's a big deal. He'll have his first time getting a second year with Rashid Shaheed as well. But Nick Eamon-Warry specifically, I mean, this guy can do pretty much anything on the field. It's really going to be up to the coaching staff, who last year were trying to protect him from overwhelming him with too much. Now it's going to be, okay, what's something that we can do that no one else can do? And when you have him plus Devin Witherspoon, and then you add some of these other players to the mix, it can be very exciting. One guy I'd throw out there to keep an eye on is Jamie Sheriff, who, and a lot of people do not know, but Mike McDonald and John Schneider have talked about a fair amount this offseason. He also is able to play edge, off-ball linebacker, rush the passer, cover, do a lot of things. So he's an interesting player to add to the mix as well. There's a lot of weapons that they've got on that defense.
Yeah, I remember Sheriff back when he was a rookie and turning some heads with this Seahawks team and bounced around a little bit, but they liked him then, and to be able to get him back in the fold with a little bit more experience is a big help for sure. When you look at that defense, we know that Devin Witherspoon's going to get his contract extension for sure. It was just a matter of time. But is Ernest Jones still that key guy on that makes that whole thing work?
I mean, you can kind of pick a guy at every level of that defense that is a key to how that defense functions. I mean, if you take away a Leonard Williams or a Byron Murphy, it's a different defense. If you take away Ernest Jones, if you take away a Julian Love or Devin Witherspoon, they've got, that's one of the things that makes them so great. Not only do they have great players at every level, but they have leaders at every level and in every position group on that defense. And Ernest, I think you got to think about him as the leader of all leaders for that group. And no one will ever forget what he said after that loss to the Rams, which, by the way, the last time this team lost was that game. They've won 10 games in a row. They are 1 game away from tying the longest win streak in Seahawks history. If you want to get really exciting, they're 11 wins away from tying the NFL record, I believe, of 21 straight. So, yeah, Ernest Jones, a guy that even yesterday, small little story, like it's just, he's running out of the practice field. He tries to drop his helmet before he starts stretching into the same spot it's supposed to be, but it fell and it was upside down. He kind of got bothered by that, walked over, set it the proper way so it looked the right way, like every other helmet on the field. Sounds like a silly thing to point out, but you could just see it in his head. Like, there is a professional way that he's going to conduct himself, that he wants to show up. And if you talk to anybody that's ever interacted with Ernest Jones, all you're going to hear is this guy is an impressive person, impressive leader, impressive player. He checks all the boxes, and this team is absolutely fortunate and a little deliciously ironic that the team that they beat last year to get to the Super Bowl are the ones that gave up on Ernest Jones and made it possible for him to come to Seattle eventually.
I love it all. And Brian, our research department tells us too as well that you're like Ernest that way on the golf course when you're playing rec basketballs. You're very meticulous as well too. That's why you're professional, why you do well.
Chris, if you saw my office, you would realize how wrong you are on that front. I got some spring cleaning I got to do around here, but yes, appreciate the idea at least.
Hey, we know you got to get out to the golf course. I got to ask you one more question. The news regarding Torrey Horton. I think Seahawks fans, we know what we're getting from JSN, from the veteran Cooper Kupp, but Rashid Shaheed, Torrey Horton, how much impact are they going to have on the offense this year, those two?
Man, it's a great question and a great call out. I mean, Torrey Horton literally just had the best game of his young career in Washington, had 2 touchdowns. The team's trades for Rashid Shaheed. You think you're going to add 2 speedsters to JSN, and then you end up losing Torrey Horton for the rest of that year. And it was really great to hear from Mike McDonald that they got some great news, that they do expect him back, maybe even for minicamp in a few weeks. That's the first time we've gotten a timeline on Torrey Horton. And this guy, so impressive last year. Not only does he have the deep speed, but he is smart. He's a great route runner. He's a great zone coverage beater as well. And then you add Rashid Shaheed, his first time getting a full offseason with Sam Darnold. You get those guys outside, you get JSN, and then you talk about maybe an Elijah Arroyo taking a jump as a second-year tight end up the middle. That's a lot for defenses to handle, and it's something to be really excited about. People forget, for the first 10 weeks of last season, Sam Darnold and this Seahawks offense, #1 in EPA per pass, #1 in success rate, #1 in completion over expected, the #1 explosive offense in the NFL, and that can all come back with all these guys that they're going to add, and with Sam Darnold getting another year with those guys to work during the offseason.
Oh, I'm ready to play right now, Paul.
I just listened to Nemhauser, he's been on the plane with us on several Seahawks trips, and our sports photographer, Tate Miller, he sits next to him sometimes and loves to deep dive with him and get these stats. He likes to ask Brian a question if he needs to hear the answer and find out what it is, and Nemhauser comes up with it. He's amazing with these deep dives.
Paul, we've had a lot of guests. I'm taking notes today on this show. I'm writing notes.
He can teach us all.
You guys are too kind. Look, past history as working in the tech field, I'm a little bit of a geek, a nerd, and the numbers do speak to me. So sometimes the opinions have to set aside to see what the numbers tell you, and I love when they back up what you see on the field.
Yeah, well, you do a great job with it, man. Brian Nemhauser, Hawkblogger, joining us here on the Ultimate Seattle Sports Show. Brian, thanks a lot for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, fellas.